Welcome to this Clinical Supervisor Emotional Competence Skill Building Program. I'm Dr. Madeleine Muller. In this exercise 7, we are focusing specifically on the registrar, and we're going to look at a technique or a tool that one can use when you are about to have a difficult conversation with somebody. So there's more detail in the pre-preparation and online, but the only thing I want to say about appreciative inquiry is that conversations change the world. So whenever we try and actually implement something, do something, fix something with someone, it all happens through how we talk to each other. And when we talk to each other, when you start analyzing the sentences that we speak, a sentence can either be appreciative or depreciative, or a question or a statement, and that gives us this nice 2x2 little graph here. And as we've said, destructive conversations, so asking somebody a question that is depreciative, going in a negative direction, that's called a destructive conversation. That's when you're asking something, what are you doing? Are you trying to kill this patient? Where did you learn that? Where clearly you're not actually asking for an answer. And it's a very humiliating and difficult thing when you are on the receiving end of such a destructive question. Critical conversations is when you just criticize somebody, either directly or indirectly, making little snide remarks, and giving negative feedback to somebody. Critical conversations sometimes is useful in very small amounts when you are urgently addressing a major or an urgent issue. But overall, if you've got too much negative statements in your conversation, that conversation is not going to lead to much learning. Affirmative conversations is when we have lots of feedback that we're giving, and especially when we do that descriptive, positive feedback for somebody, that's already helpful and creating a different type of conversation. But if you want to really create conversations that's going to change the world, we want to use something called appreciative inquiry. And it has to do with the way that you are framing questions that's going to generate positive ideas. So we're going to actually look at some of the practicalities, and just a small sort of reminder, you can't have a conversation like this unless you are in balcony view. So you must be calm, you must be warm, you must be curious. And imagine you're now about to have a meeting with your registrar, and I'm going to use that example again of the registrar is always late, and you now need to be able to discuss with them what's happening. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to actually create an affirmative statement using a positive framing of focusing your attention and action of where you want to go and what we want more of. So very clearly is that when we have affirmative questions, we don't avoid the issue. We're going to be very clear about what the issue is that we're going to address. But rather than focusing in the past on everything that's wrong, we're going to focus in the future on where we want to go. So we're going to use the technique of flipping to help you frame, and it's very simple. So this you can do before you meet with your registrar. You sit and think, well, what is it that I don't want? Okay, I don't want them to always be late for work. You find the positive opposite. So what would I like to do? Okay, I'd like to see them arriving on time. And then the slightly more difficult thing to do is to figure out, how can I link this to a positive outcome? So I want to provide a positive role model to I want this registrar to be actually a positive role model to junior doctors. And you can decide what is it that makes it important that this person needs to be on time. So if you put that into a sentence, you're basically going to your opening statement is going to be, I need you to arrive on time in the mornings as I believe it will add to your professionalism and provide a positive role model to junior doctors. Nice. So your next step, once you've created your opening statement, is creating a generative question. So you've now actually created a positive goal that you want this registrar to work towards, and you now want to adopt an attitude of curiosity, genuinely interested to figure out how we're going to do it. And this is where you're going to do a lot of your active listening, figuring out how does the registrar see it. So when it worked well in the past, how did you manage before? Last year you were always on time. So what worked well then to make this happen? And you can also bring suggestions. Well, what might be possible if we do this or if we do that? You can see this is very different from trying to unpack why the registrar is late. And generally those conversations doesn't really get you very far. So focusing purely on the problems and all the stuff that's making it difficult, you're going to have the yes, but conversation. Move away from that and purely focus on the registrar, figuring out the best of what can be and helping them to focus on how you're going to get where you need to be. One of the ways of thinking is, if you are going to ask a question, is you want to know, is this question that I'm going to ask, is it going to generate positive ideas? And then you know you are in the realm of appreciative inquiry. So if we think of this in an exercise, I want you to think of one undesirable behavior that a junior in your department is displaying. It can be in the past or in the present. And now imagine you've got to call them in and you're going to have a conversation about this. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to do your name it, flip it, frame it. So you're going to name with the activity that it is, flip it into its positive opposite, and then frame it by linking it to a positive outcome that you want for that registrar. And then you're going to think of, what is my generative question that I'm going to ask about this? You can either do this on your own in reflection, or you can discuss this in buzz pairs with somebody else. Thank you.